Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Bab Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful maxi 180 degrees flared gown. If you're new to my channel, please kindly hit on the subscribe button to subscribe and make sure to put on your notification bell so you get notified once I post a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So let's get right into the video. This is the fabric we'll be using for this project, and this fabric is a floral fabric, and I have 4 yards here, and the fabric comes in 60 inches in length, so it is 60 inches long. So the measurements needed for this project will appear on our screen. So having seen the measurements needed, now we're going to go ahead. The first thing we're going to be drafting is the down part, which is the 180 flare. This is because this is the biggest part. So you want to make sure that you draft the biggest part so that you can manage your fabric correctly. So to draft our 180 flare, the first measurement we need is the waist circumference. So we need to get the radius of this waist circumference for the 180 flare. So we're going to say, to get the radius, we'll say waist circumference, which is 34, divided by 3.14 is a standard formula and it works perfectly. Divided 34 by 3.14, I have 10.8. So this is the radius of a waist circumference of 34 inches. So the next thing now we need is the length of the flare. So now for my client, her full length is 62 inches. So I'm going to subtract, which when I say full length, that's from shoulder to the hemline. So I'm going to subtract her half length from this full length to know the actual length of the flare I am making. So her half length is 18 inches. So as you can see, I wrote 62 minus 18 and that gave me 44 inches. So the actual length of her flare is going to be 44 inches. So now, remember that we already have a radius. So we're going to add 44 plus 10.8, which is our radius, to get the length of the fabric we're going to be working with. And 44 plus 10.8, that will give us 54.8. Okay, and then I went ahead to add 2 inches. This 2 inches is for my hemming allowance and also for joining it to the waistline. So in total that gave me 56.8 and I approximated it to 57 inches. So this is the measurement we need to achieve our flare. So we are looking for a length of 57 inches. So now I'm going to show us how to fold our fabric to achieve this flare. So I'll go ahead now and open up my fabric. And you can see that this is the starting point of my fabric, and this is also the selvage of the fabric. Remember I said the length of my fabric is 60 inches. So from the selvage here, I'm going to measure the length of 57 inches. Can you see? So now I have 57 inches. So next I'll go ahead and fold over this 57 inches I have this way. Take note that the whole of this is 57 inches. So I'm just going to fold it over like this. So folding it over like this means that I now have 57 inches in two places. Okay, so this is my fabric, the width of 57 inches. I had to cut it out so that I have less fabric to deal with. So here I have 57 on fold. So now the next thing I'm going to do, you can see how the fabric is. This is the selvage. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pick this part where I have this folded part, and then I'll fold my fabric over like this. I'm folding into two, but I am forming a triangular shape. Take note of what I'm doing. Can you see? So now this is the folded part of my fabric, and this is the upper part of the fabric, which is the selvage. Now I'm going to fold this over like this to meet this folded part of my fabric. Can you see? To form a triangle shape. So this is what I mean. Let's assume that this is our fabric, and when we fold into two like this is 57, right? 57 here, 57 on this side. So now this is what I did. This is the upper cervix and this is the folded part. Then I went ahead to fold it this way to form a triangle shape. Can you see? That's exactly what I have done here. So these two parts will be the center back and this will be the center front, which is the folded part. I hope we understand. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to mark the radius. And to mark this radius, I'll be starting from the apex of this triangle, which is the sharpest point on this triangle. That's from here. So 10.8 is between 10.75. That's 10 and 3/4 inch. So I'm just going to mark in between 10 and 3/4 inch. So this is my 10.8. I'm going to mark this 10.8 again this way. Can you see how I'm marking it round? I hope the color of my chalk is showing. Let me use, I hope we can see what I'm marking. Maybe I should use this yellow chalk so that it's clearer. Okay, so now we have achieved the radius of our circle. The thing I'm going to do is to mark the length of this flare. So the length of this flare is 44 inches. 44 plus 2, which is for my hemming allowance and joining allowance. So that is now 46. That's what gave us a total of 57. So already we have marked 10.8 already. So now we're going to mark the remaining length, which is 44 plus 2, and that will give us 46 inches. So from this part where my radius, where I've marked my radius, I'm going to go ahead now and mark 46 inches. And I'll go ahead and mark 46 inches. So I'm going to mark making sure that my tape is placed on that point. And here is my 46 inches. And then I'll bring it this way. You want to make sure that you are maintaining that point. This is 46 inches. See that we have our 46 inches complete. So now, this is what I want to say. Just in case you are working with an Ankara fabric, Ankara comes in 45 inches in length. It will not be able to give you your length complete in front. It will give you on this side because whatever measurement you take on the cervix, that's fine. And you know Ankara can give you up to 6 yards. So, but for the length in front, it will stop like halfway. It will stop around here. That's 45 inches because it will not be as long as the 60 inches fabric I'm using. So don't worry about that. You join your fabric to make it up. That's if you are working with an Ankara. But you can see that in this case, I don't have that problem because I am working with a fabric that is long enough to give me the length of my client. I hope we understand that. So now I'll bring in my scissors and cut out our 180 flare. Remember I said that my client's waist measurement is 34 inches and we divided 34 by 3.14 and that gave us 10.8. So now let's measure what we have here at this radius. So this is my tape. Can you see? I have 9 inches. So can you see that I have, by having 9 inches, and remember my fabric is folded into 4. That means I have 36 inches. So using this formula, it automatically gives you your zip allowance. I usually don't add zip allowance when I am cutting a flare. Because sometimes when you add that zip allowance, it gives you unnecessary excess that you have to now start pleating when you didn't plan to pleat. So using this formula, it gives me my zip allowance automatically. So I hope you try it and let me know if it gave you your zip allowance. But before you cut, please make sure to measure here and be sure that you have your waist circumference plus your zip allowance. But just in case you don't have, let's say you measure and you got exactly that 8.5, you can just as well just bring it down a little by ½ inch so that your zip allowance can show up. I hope we understand that. So now I'll go ahead and cut out my fabric. This is our 180 flare. So let's open it up and see. Can you see? You see how full it is, and this is still unfold. And then we open up this way. Can you see that? Now for the sleeve. I've gone ahead to cut my 360 flare. So just in case you do not know how to cut a 360 flare, I'll be dropping the link in the description box. I've done several videos on how to cut a 360 flare. So here I have my 360 flare. I'm going to divide it into two equal parts. I'll be sharing this for both hands. So I cut a 360 flare and I'm going to go ahead and divide it into two. So meaning that each of them will be a half circle. That's a 180 flare on one hand, and then the other side will have its own 180 flare. So I'm going to go ahead and divide them into two. I'll show us how to do that. The next thing we're going to do now is to reduce the length here. Why are we reducing the length here? This side is going to be under the arm, that's under the armpit area. And this is the part that will be sewn to the shoulder part that will fall. This is like the center front of the sleeve, and this is the side front of the sleeve. So take note that they are the same length. And if they are the same length, this part that is joined to the shoulder, of course, will be higher than this side, because this side is on the underarm, so it will drop more than this, and we don't want it to drop like that. We want them to be even. We want them to be even. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to take out the cap's height of my client from this side. How do you get the cap's height of your client? You're going to divide the bust measurement by 12 plus half inch. That will give you the cap's height of your client. That's one way to do it. And another way to do it, you can take away what you use as the radius of the sleeve from this side. That's what you're using as a radius, which is 4.6. But in this case, I'm going to be working with the cap's height of my client, and her cap's height is 4 inches. So from this side, I'm going to come down by 4 inches. So having done that, so you can now see that this side is going to be 4 inches less. So it will no longer drop much. It will not drop lower than this. So now I'm going to connect this 4 inches to this part. Can you see that? So, and then I'll go ahead and cut it out like this. Can you see? So now this is what my flare looks like. And then I'll go ahead and slash into two. I'll slash this into two also. So now we now have one for one sleeve and then the other for the other sleeve. So can you see? So this is how we're going to use it to form our gather. So by doing that, you can see that it's automatically bigger than the actual measurement. So this will actually help to increase the measurement, that it will be wider than the armhole, so that you can have some tiny pleats at the shoulder area. So let's measure what we have here. So you can see that I have about 12 inches and the armhole of my client is 8 inches. So these 4 inches, I can use it to gather there. And I have my second sleeve. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the second sleeve, which is going to be, that's the second shorter, the shorter flare. I'm going to repeat the same thing. Exactly what I've done here is what I'll do for that one. And then I'll show us the next thing to do. I'm done cutting my sleeves, the flare sleeve, and you can see I have two pieces each. So this is the longer one and this is the shorter one, you can see. Then I also went ahead to cut my bustier. I cut an armhole princess bustier. I didn't show us that in this video because I have done several videos on how to cut an armhole princess bustier. So in case you don't know how to draft it, I'm going to be dropping the link in the description box so that you can check it out. So, and I've also gone ahead to iron my hairstay to it, and then I padded it also. I did the same thing for the center piece, and then this is my side piece. I also went ahead to cut my linings. You can see I also used my paper stay on the lining and then on the center piece also. So that's that for the front pieces. And then for the back piece is just a basic bodice. You can see my back piece is just a basic bodice. This is what I have here. I made sure to remove the zipper bolt. I have two pieces, one for the left and the other for the right. So now we're done with our cutting. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to take my bustier to my machine and join my pieces together and iron my seam lines open. I'll be doing that for both lining and fabric. And I also go ahead and stitch the lining to the main fabric for the back piece. And then for the flare, that's for the sleeves, this is what I will be doing. I have my crinoline. This is my 1 inch crinoline. I'm going to be stitching my crinoline on the right side of my fabric. Now this is it. Let me show us. So this is my crinoline. I'm going to place it on the right side of my fabric like this, and then I'm going to stitch it very close to the hem. I'm going to stitch it round all the way to the other end of the flare. And then after doing that, now going to turn it to the wrong side. And let me show us. This is it now. Just assume that I have stitched it. Then I'll flip it now to the wrong side and then top stitch on this side. You must make sure that you are using a matching thread so that it doesn't show. So if you don't want to top stitch it that way, you can use hemming gum to gum it, but you need to use the permanent hemming gum so that it will not remove. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for all four of the pieces, and then I'll come back and show us the next thing to do. To sew my crinoline, this is the right side of my fabric. I'm going to place my crinoline like this. You can see at the edge of my fabric this way, and then I'll stitch. Okay, you see? Then I'll cut out my crinoline. I haven't cut it out now. Can you see? I'm going to now flip it now to the wrong side like this. Can you see what I have? And then I'll top stitch here. So you want to make sure that you are arranging it like this. Can you see? So this is what so can you see what it looks like? So this is what our crinoline looks like. So that's that for it. So I've stitched my bustier together and I've given it a very nice press, and this is what the outcome. It came out really, really beautiful. Everything is sitting really pretty. So like I said earlier, if you don't know how to achieve an armhole princess bustier, I'm going to drop the link in the description box so that you can check it out. So, and I've also gone ahead to join the shoulders of the front and back together, and I've stitched my darts on both sides. You can see? And then I also went ahead to shape it at the side using my seam allowance, my side seam allowance. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my sleeves. So this is my sleeve. I've gone ahead to join the two steps together. After joining them together at this point, you can see I ran a loose stitch at this point, and then I went ahead to gather it to the armhole circumference of my client. And this is what I have here. I have the armhole circumference of my client is 8.3, and that's times 2, so that's about 16.5. So here I have a little above 16.5. Can you see that I have 18 inches here? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to place this sleeve like this, wrong side facing wrong side. Can you see them facing each other like this? And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch on 1/4 inch. Take note that this is the right side. I placed it wrong side facing wrong side, and so this is the right side, right? I'll stitch it on 1/4 inch like this. After doing that, then I'm going to turn it to the wrong side and stitch properly. This is so that I can conceal the tips of this crinoline, because even if you weave it, it will poke the skin. So this is just a way to secure it so that it doesn't poke the skin of whoever is wearing it. So I'll go ahead and stitch on 1/4 inch. So after stitching on 1/4 inch, I'll turn it out back like this and stitch on the actual allowance. Okay, so after doing that, then I'll go ahead and sew this sleeve to the armhole of my client. So take note that her armhole is 8.3 on one side, 8.3 on one side. So that means I have 16.6. So I'm going to sew it round the armhole. And I'll do the same thing on this side, and then I'll come back and show us the next thing to do. Done joining my sleeve. So this is what I was talking about. Can you see how I neatly covered this place so the crinoline will not, the sharp parts of the crinoline will not touch the skin of my client. So I've sewn it to the armhole of my client. Can you see how it just fits in? So I'm going to weave this part, and I'll repeat the same thing on this side. Can you see? So and I'm also going to repeat the same thing on this side. I'm going to also repeat the same thing on this side. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to bring in my flare. So this is our flare. I'm going to place it like this. This is the right side of our flare and this is the waistline. So I'm going to place it right side of the flare, facing the right side of the upper bodice like this. And then I'll stitch it on half of an inch on the waistline. So just the same way I place the lining right side facing this side, I'm going to place the lining right side of the lining facing this side. And then I'll stitch it and sew my zipper and show us the final outcome. Okay, here's the final outcome of our 180 flared gown, and it came out really beautiful. Sorry, some part of this video wasn't so clear. This is because while I was making this video, there was no light. I'm sorry about that. I hope you learned a thing or two from this video. If you did, please like this video, share this video with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. And also make sure to put on your notification bell so you get notified once I post a new video. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.